referred to as a place or building that my family and friends went to talk about God and be at church. It wasn't until I grew in my own faith that I began to understand what church is really about. To me, church is not a place, but the body of believers, followers of Christ, and how we experience God with them. Now, for the rest of my sharing, I want you all to get the idea of church as a building as far out of your head as possible. Because if you're like me, you have a tendency to first think of your own church building when you first hear that word. Church is an opportunity for me to be surrounded with believers to challenge my faith, grow in my faith, and worship God through music or prayer or anything else. One way that I experience God through church is through worship led by the Spirit. A church led by God is a true church, not just one that invites him in but refuses to allow him to move the hearts of each individual. In my opinion, a church led by the Spirit is what church should be. One experience that I've had with this was a worship service with my dad. This worship service was touching to almost every person in the room because the leaders let the Spirit work in each individual's heart. I was able to worship God and talk to him without worrying what others around me were doing. The community of people centered around God is the heart of the church. Through my past church attending, I've also connected to church through my youth group. From different Sunday mornings to retreats with the youth group, I was able to connect to God within myself, but also with others of my age. One time on a retreat, I was able to be open with my friends in my youth group and connect to God through the honesty we had through sharing. I talked to one of my youth advisors, Jeff, around the campfire as we stared up into the stars, and that sharing will be probably one of the most important sharings that I've ever had in my life. Keep in mind that church doesn't have to be a building you go to, but rather a place to experience God with others. That could be a mountain house with friends, a worship jam session, chapel 3 times a week, or anything else. From these experiences of community through youth group and a Spirit-led worship, I developed a new hope for future churches. My hope for future church is that we all get our focus off of politics in the church and focus on Jesus and God at the center. I can guarantee that full faith in him with a body of believers will create something powerful. I hope that churches get away from the idea of being a hotel for good people and are rather a hospital for the broken. I think if we keep working on loving each other, giving all we have to God, and letting him work through us individually and as a church, we will become what God meant church to be.